Good evening, viewers. Welcome to this special show on Budget 2025 on the Business Standard website. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented her 8th consecutive budget and her second for the third term of the Narendra Modi-led NDA government today. Broadly, the challenges and expectations from this budget can be broken in 4 parts. First is the immediate challenge of kickstarting the sagging private consumption in the economy. 2, to continue past few years' focus on fiscal consolidation and public investments. Thirdly, whether the finance minister has had enough to address some of the long-running pain points like lack of private sector investments. And fourth and last, has the government given the roadmap or how it will usher in much-needed deregulation and the next generation reforms to put the economy into the fast lane in order to achieve the developed country status by 2047. To discuss how far this budget has done on each of these broad issues, we have with us Mr. K Bhattacharya, Editorial Director of Business Standard. Welcome, AKB, to the show.
Thank you for having me here.
Thank you. If deregulation was a big message from the economic survey tabled yesterday, would you agree that consumption stimulus is a broad message of budget today?
Yes, I would agree with that assessment of yours, that this budget has placed consumption focus at the center of its overall approach to tackling the challenges the economy faces. And to announce a 1 lakh crore of tax relief, although to a tiny portion or part of our population, is expected to generate more demand. Only time will tell whether that demand is generated. But clearly, the government has used this 1 lakh crore. In the past many years, we have never seen in one budget such a huge tax relief. So this is a sort of a gamble. Let's see whether it gives rise to a kind of a demand revival that the government wishes.
Okay. If you combine this consumption boost of 1 trillion rupees with the government capex of again 11.2 trillion rupees, up from 10 trillion odd in the current fiscal, you think this will help crowd in private sector investments, which has been lacking all these years?
It all depends whether the consumption boost they have given through the income tax relief results in consumption expenditure in the next 1 year or 2 years. Now, the question is about how do you diagnose the state of the economy. If you have diagnosed the problems that afflict the economy as one where people are not spending money, then I would imagine that yes, a tax relief of this nature should work. But if the problem of the economy's growth is deeper, if the problem is about how a large number of unorganized sector entities are still out of the pale of the economic landscape of this country, then probably this may not work. So there, the sustained growth in capital investment and giving some incentive to the industries, not just to a few industries, but to a large number of industries to invest more, that would probably work more effectively. But as I said, let's see how it pans out.
Okay, interesting perspective there. On the fiscal consolidation, AKB, the FMs seem to have stayed the course with fiscal deficit for FY26 penciled at 4.4%. And she's also shared the roadmap of debt anchored fiscal deficit up till FY31, best case scenario being the central government debt comes down to 47.5% of the GDP. And even in the worst case scenario, we are better off than what we are today with 52%. How do you view this?
Well, it's an interesting proposition that the finance minister has made. Number one, she has not just stayed the course, but she's actually got better. In a sense, this year it was supposed to be 4.9% of GDP as a fiscal deficit, but she is ending the year with 4.8%. But an important point that should not be lost sight of is that this reduction in the fiscal deficit number has been achieved largely through expenditure compression. As a matter of fact, the revenue buoyancy has little bit slowed down. So, which is a different kind of a concern, that with the revenue buoyancy having slowed a bit and expenditure compression of almost about 1 lakh crore, and that too on the capital side, has actually helped you reduce the fiscal deficit to 4.8%. Now, that could be an area of concern not only for this year, but also for next year, because next year your revenue projections are supposed to do very well. Your personal income tax is supposed to grow by 14%, and the corporation tax is supposed to grow by around 8%. Now, it all depends on whether the revenue buoyancy stays, and expenditure control continues to be the mantra there. I mean, we are not really, even the capex increase has come down, in the sense that it is only about 10% growth.
Yes.
And probably this will be the lowest capex increase in the last 5 years post-COVID. On the question of the fiscal anchor to debt, it's an interesting trajectory that the government has put out. It is not very clear from these budget documents or from the finance minister's statement whether there would be a range of fiscal deficit or there will be a range of debt. Now, the range of debt that you also mentioned is linked to the nominal GDP growth projections.
10.5.
If the nominal economy grows by 10%, this will be my GDP. If it is 11%, it will be lower. Now, current year's debt to GDP is for the central government is around 57%, and it is supposed to go down to either 49% or 52%, depending on what your nominal economic growth is.
47.5 or 52.
So, are we going to see that from next year, the finance minister in Parliament will not announce a fiscal deficit number or target? This is something is not yet clear. Now, if that happens, then I would say it's a big change. We will debate when that change is announced. But right now, it seems that both the debt figure as well as the fiscal deficit figures would be available for analysts, for people to debate and discuss and analyze.
Oh, interesting. Moving to trade, FMA has gone for a tariff rationalization with only 8 tariff lines, including the zero rate now. She has gone for corrections of the inverted duty structure, the ease of doing business. There are lots of announcements there. She is trying to reduce classification disputes. Now, in the July budget, you would remember that she said that we're going to do a customs duties rationalization, though she did not give a timeline for that. Now, is it what she announced today was
well, I
what
think
you were expecting?
I think I was expecting a little more, but I think what she has done is something on the lines that she had promised. Remember that this budget is presented in a post-Trumpian world, where the Trump threat of tariff on India, Mexico, and Canada are very much there. And as you would have noticed, that this budget reduces tariffs on motorcycles. Now, motorcycles, as you will remember, that was very, controlled 30%. Now, so coming to the numbers, there are about 26 items wherein the duties have actually come down. There are 37 items where the effective tariff, not the applicable rate, the effective tariff has come down. Now, this is once again a strategy to tell the US and other countries that, listen, my effective tariff has been brought down.
Yes.
And there are another 14 items where the effective as well as the tariff as well as the applicable duty, they have come down. So in all, there are about 40 items where duties have come down, and another 37 items where the effective tariff have not come down, but the effective tariff has come down, but not the applicable. So it's a comprehensive exercise in the right direction. Maybe one should have done a little more. We still don't know what is now the effective tariff rate right now, whether it has come down. I have a feeling it must have come down a little. but there are only 4 or 5 items where the duties have gone up.
Okay. What was that you were expecting that didn't come through in the budget, specifically on the custom duty rationalization?
Well, I think there should have been, in a sense, a far more comprehensive review of the basic custom duty,
BCDs,
your overall the effective duties should have come down a little. But I would not say that it is not something that we should not feel good about. I think the overall approach is in the right direction.
She also announced a policy of a policy on global capability centers in tier 2 cities would be announced soon. And we know global capability centers have been doing very good business. India accounts for almost 40% of all GCCs across the world, 1,700 of them, with exports of around $100 billion. How do you see this?
I think there is a lot of focus on states in this budget. As you would have noticed that she announces the same figure of 1.5 lakh crore for an interest-free loan for states for doing this thing. She's also announced about an electricity distribution reforms linked to the states doing reform. Once again, states. So similarly in the GCCs, she's talking about tier 2 towns, tier 3 towns. So the states can come in, and some sort of a package probably is in the making, by which the government hopes to bring more GCCs into the country. And remember, the GCCs create a lot of jobs of a certain kind.
Staying with technology, the FM also said that deep tech funds is being explored, and she also allocated 20,000 crore to private sector research and development, something that she announced in the July budget. Do you think all this will give a fillip to the startup ecosystem?
Well, I think if they are rolled out and the absorptive capacity of the system is good, then it's a good thing. Intentions are laudable, but as you know that both the government as well as the states, the money allocation is not enough to ensure that the schemes are implemented. Now, as you would have seen that there are many schemes which were announced with good intentions, but the money has not been spent, which is why you will see in the current year, you have a saving of around over 1 lakh crore. Now, similarly, I would say that if there are many schemes, now this will also include maybe some of the central sector schemes. Now, those schemes, the money is been allocated, but the money has not been spent. So I think that's a larger issue. It's as I said, it's a state issue as well as the center-state collaboration on what kind of schemes should be launched. Maybe the state does not want to launch that scheme, but it has done it because it has been asked to do it. So I think it requires center-state cooperation of a different type, but these intentions are laudable.
Yeah. Staying with the state capacity, AKB, the monetization roadmap that she declared for 5 years, starting this year, ending in 2030, says 10 trillion would be monetized. Now, given the experience of this government on monetization and disinvestment, are the targets overambitious?
I think we have to recognize that disinvestment is still not in this budget. It was banished from the budget documents last year,
and
both are now clubbed. Now, what is proposed is, what I can understand from the budget documents, is that assets, land or buildings, or even maybe parts of the maybe subsidiary outfits would be either sold or would be monetized in a certain way, and money will be plowed back, and it will be plowed back into investment. So from 2021's policy on strategic policy of disinvestment, it is a different kind of a policy that we are seeing. Remember that there is no mention of any of those pending privatization plans that are in the works, whether it is the IDBI Bank
or two banks
Corporation of India, or two banks
and one insurance company.
The good thing is that they have announced an increase in the FDI insurance sector. The FDI limit in the insurance sector has been raised. It's a welcome sign that I think there is a Make in India for the world is a good idea, and the insurance sector, foreign direct investment liberalization will probably, hopefully, see some more foreign capital coming in.
Okay. Another ghost from the past seems to have been resurrected in terms of PPP fines mentioned the budget again, and she said that every ministry has been asked to come out with a 3-year roadmap and a pipeline. Again, our
Yes.
experience with PPPs in the 2000s and 2010s was not been very encouraging. You think it will be any different this time?
I think it depends on the kind of a structure that you put in place. I think there is a intention in this year's budget that some sort of a framework would be placed, and if that framework is more effective, there is no reason why PPP should not succeed, provided you have an execution framework. And let's hope if the execution framework is in place and manages to achieve the kind of public-private partnership projects on way. It's a great way to go forward because the government has money, the private sector is not willing to invest. If the private sector is tying up with the government, then there is a kind of a jugalbandi, which is good for the economy.
What do you make of a host of missions that has been announced by her, whether it's in agriculture in terms of seed mission, pulse mission, cotton? On the energy side, you have the nuclear power energy mission.
Yeah, these are announcements. These are new initiatives. If you look at the agriculture sector's budget, it has seen a good increase this year. The agriculture sector's budget has gone up by around 22,000 crore rupees or so, which is a decent increase. So I would say that probably money is also being allocated for it. Finally, budget is as good as it is backed by numbers. So I hope these announcements, these missions, they get implemented without any further hassle.
Okay. On not so encouraging note, if you look at the defense budget, it's gone up very marginally from 4.56 trillion to about 4.9 trillion. In the environment where there's so much uncertainty, geopolitical uncertainty, do you think this is worrying?
This is certainly a cause for concern. This is not just for this year. For the last several years, we have seen that the defense has probably got shortchanged as far as money is necessary, money is concerned for investment in that sector. So I think this requires some course correction. The fact that on both the northern and the eastern borders, we have issues. Western borders, we have issues to deal with. So therefore, we need to probably allocate more money to this sector.
Moving to a bit of politics of the budget, a lot of announcements for coal-bound Bihar, from the Makhana mission, another mission, IIT expansion, new and refurbishing of the old airports she spoke about, a lot of centers of excellence in Bihar. Do you think this is going to be a big booster for a state which has been a laggard in terms of development?
I don't know whether it will be a booster for a thing, but certainly the Bihar was mentioned several times in the finance minister's speech. You have an election in that state and later in the year. Delhi is going to see an election in a few days. A large number of salaried people live in Delhi. We have seen an income tax relief of an unprecedented level. So I don't think you can separate the electoral politics from this budget, in a sense that the logic is to boost demand, but there's no denying that this relief will actually help the ruling party at the center to win some votes in its favor.
Thank you so much, AKB. Thank you for the lovely perspective. Thank you, viewers, and keep watching Business Standard website. Thanks.